Officials in the Middle East are addressing the ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war. Let's listen live right now.
مع موافقة الجانبين وطرفي التفاوض على هذا الاتفاق
both sides and the negotiators on this deal in order to finalize all executive measures for tonight, and after that we will be taking all the internal measures. The Israeli government will be taking the internal measures, after which the agreement will enter into effect on Sunday, January 19th. The exact timing will be identified later. The phase 1 of the agreement will go on for 42 days, and it will include a ceasefire and the withdrawal of Israeli forces to the east away from populated areas. Israeli forces will then be positioned along the Gaza border, and which will allow for the swap of prisoners as well as the swap of remains and the return of the displaced people to their residences. This will also facilitate the travel of wounded and sick people in order to receive treatment. Phase 1 also includes an increased flow of relief and humanitarian aid to all parts of the Gaza Strip, as well as the rehabilitation of hospitals, health centers, bakeries, and allowing the entry of fuel and civil defense equipment, as well as basic necessities for displaced people who lost their houses as a result of the war. In phase 1, Hamas will be releasing 33 Israeli captives, including civilian women and female recruits, as well as children, elderly people, as well as civilian ill people and wounded, in return for a number of prisoners who are being held in Israeli prisons. Regarding phases 2 and 3, the details will be finalized during the implementation of phase 1. The state of Qatar reaffirms the necessity of both sides committing to the implementation of all 3 stages of the agreement in order to prevent civilian bloodshed and in order to shield our region from the consequences of this conflict and ensure that we have lasting peace in the region. Qatar will continue its joint efforts with the Arab Republic of Egypt and the United States of America to ensure that all sides are following through with their commitments and engagements and ensure that all 3 stages will be implemented. We look forward to seeing regional and international efforts coming together in order to assist with relief and humanitarian aid and supporting the United Nations in its attempts to enter aid into the Gaza Strip. Qatar will spare no effort to offer help to the families in the Gaza Strip and doing everything that's necessary to alleviate the suffering of the residents of the Strip. Since October 8th, we in the state of Qatar saved no effort with the under the constant and watchful eye of His Highness Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani. We worked day and night in order to reach this moment, and since our mediation efforts succeeded last November to guarantee the release of 109 hostages in return for a number of Palestinian prisoners, we have been working continuously in order to prevent bloodshed and put an end to the war machine and restore hope for our region in a prosperous future that will allow our people to dream of a better future. For 411 days, meetings and contacts continued with our partners and both sides of the conflict until we reached this long-awaited moment today. However, today begins a responsibility for both sides, who will be supported by the international community and the mediators in order to achieve complete success. And this is what we will be focusing on in the coming days and weeks. I would also like to express our thanks to all our partners in the region and internationally for their support to our efforts all the way until we reach this deal. And in conclusion, I would also like to remind our brothers in the Gaza Strip that Qatar will continue to offer support to our brothers in Palestine, and that this happens under the close watch and the watchful eye of His Highness Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, day and night, hour by hour, and minute by minute. We would like to tell them we give thanks to Allah for bringing us to this moment today, and hopefully this will be the last page in the days of the war. We would also like to call upon all sides to fully commit to all the articles of this agreement and to continue implementing these procedures and measures in accordance with the agreement. The state of Qatar will continue working jointly with its partners in order to make sure that this deal is implemented in full and that calm returns to the Gaza Strip in a sustainable manner, and we will never give up the people of Gaza. Thank you. First question, Sky News.
Prime Minister Yalda Hakim from Sky News. Congratulations. This is a huge moment. You, as you say, have been working on this deal for many months. And the question is, why now? Why this moment? And was it pressure from the incoming Trump administration that got it over the line? Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Yalda, for this question. Actually, we've been raising the question of the right moment for the entire period since the collapse of the first phase. But we have seen a momentum that started to build in the last month, and we kept pushing for that, working together very closely with our partners. And I can say that what we have seen from the US in the past few days, seeing a collaboration transcending both administration, was a clear demonstration for the commitment of the US to reach to that deal. And I really would like to thank both the envoys who are here with us in the last couple of days, and they played a vital role in reaching to this moment. And of course, for us and Egypt, this is something that we are a stakeholder in that conflict, that we have to do it and we have to help and support. But we have seen the steps that's been taken recently from the US has yielded to this moment.
CNN.
Thank you very much indeed, and to Steve Witkoff, who's Becky Anderson from CNN. Congratulations to you, and to Steve Witkoff, who is also here in the room. How much confidence do you have that the deal will progress beyond phase one, sir?
Well, we have faith, Becky, that brought us to this moment, and I think that's the most important part, that we are committed. We will continue to do everything we can, everything possible, together with our partners, to ensure that this deal is implemented as it's agreed, and this deal will bring us peace, hopefully, at the end of it. I believe that it all depends on the parties of the agreement and acting in good faith in that agreement in order to ensure that no collapse happening to that deal.
Can I just follow up? What mechanisms are in place to ensure that neither side breaks the ceasefire? There
is a follow-up mechanism that Egypt, Qatar and US are going to handle. It will be placed in Cairo, and this follow-up actually will be a joint team from the three countries that will monitor the implementation of the agreement, and everything is being agreed upon and will be in place hopefully on the day of the execution.
Thank you.
Reuters.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Congratulations, Andrew Mills from Reuters. Can you talk a little bit more about this follow-up mechanism? If elements of the agreement put in place tonight are violated, what will happen? Who is it that is going to report and that a violation has happened? And how will that violation be communicated to the parties, the world, the guarantors of this agreement? Thank you.
Well, this is what I have just mentioned to Becky. There will be a follow-up mechanism that all the parties will be placed in Egypt, and they will follow up the implementation of the agreement. There will be a reporting mechanism for any violation, and those violations will be addressed at a very early stage. Look, we expect from the parties to adhere to the agreement. We expect the parties to stay committed to what they have committed themselves to in that agreement. But we know that these kind of agreements are very complex and will have some issues down the line. And we are ready, and we will stay committed to address those issues ahead of time.
And Prime Minister, just as a follow-up, the last truce that was in place in November 2023 did fall apart on the 8th day. What has changed in this agreement that will ensure that this has less likely to fall apart than that agreement was?
Well, the agreement on
السؤال الرابع والأخير قناة الجزيرة العربية. مع الوزير عدنان بوريني من الجزيرة.
Your Excellency Adnan Bourina from Al Jazeera. Question number one. Do you think that this agreement will lead to a permanent ceasefire? In other words, do you believe the guarantees are strong enough to ensure that Israel will commit to all articles of the agreement? Question two. Between today and Sunday, what will the situation be like in the Gaza Strip? And question three, if you allow me, what contributed to the success of the mediation this time around, and what did Qatar offer this time, and what will Qatar's role be like in the implementation of the agreement? Truth be told, you had me lost because I was focused on question number one. Can you please go over the questions again? Question number one, do you believe that this time the ceasefire, the deal will lead to a permanent ceasefire? All right, wait here and then you'll ask the other questions later. Regarding the implementation of this agreement, first off, like I said, the implementation depends upon the parties as well as the goodwill of the parties, and this is what we are hoping. Of course, regarding the guarantees, the best guarantee would be the commitment of all parties to the agreement and the articles of the agreement. In addition, there are guarantees provided by the guarantors and the mediators of this agreement that will guarantee the continuation of negotiations throughout the first phase, while we wait for phase two, where we will be announcing the complete withdrawal and the end of the war. A series of measures will be taken in the next few days in order to reinforce and shield this agreement. Between today and Sunday, when the agreement enters into force, what will the situation be like in the Gaza Strip? Of course, we ask that the situation be calm between today and Sunday. However, the parties recognize that the agreement requires a couple of days in order for its articles to be implemented correctly and for the engagements therein to be honored. And we hope that over the next few days, there will not be any aggressions or any military operations. Last question, what is it that ensured the success of the mediation efforts this time? What role did Qatar play, and what will Qatar's role be like in the future? As I mentioned earlier, at the end of the day, it all goes back to the parties of the agreement. We in Qatar and our partners in the Arab Republic of Egypt, at the end of the day, we are mediators. We are trying to bring viewpoints closer together and bridge any gaps between the two sides. Of course, the success of the agreement depends on a number of factors, and there are a number of variables that are happening around us. I cannot go into the details. However, as I stated earlier, in the past few days, there were some serious efforts by all partners. We were all working as a single team in order to come up to the agreement that was reached today. We had back-to-back meetings over the past 4 days. We were communicating continuously at those meetings in the presence of the Qatari delegation, the Egyptian delegation, as well as the American delegation, and of course the presence of the two parties to the conflict. And thankfully, today we managed to reach this